stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? And that word for light there is ore, which means bright as the sun, or maybe even brighter than the sun. It's not just having light, it is brightness, okay? Reminds me of going to Arkansas a couple of years ago and watching the full solar eclipse, and how they say when it comes out, you don't look at it because it's really, really bright. It'll burn your eyes. That's the kind of brightness that it's talking about here. And God is light. In fact, He is light. In 1 John it said, this is the message we have heard from Him and declared to you, that God is light, and in Him is no darkness at all. So I have some facts about light. I guess one of them is maybe not about light, but most of them are about light itself. And I'm going to tell you the fact, and maybe describe it a second, but then I want you to think about how does that relate to God, and share what that fact means to you about God. Okay? Think y'all can handle that? So the first one is, there's no such thing as darkness. Okay? No such thing as darkness. Darkness is just the absence of light. So what does that tell us about God? He is light.
When you think about being led, as from a leader, you usually think that there's also light involved.
Right. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but yeah.
Hands, come with me. It's dark, but you can follow me with my hand. But as if it's between us, but it's leading us.
Okay. What does that tell us about darkness? Maybe I should ask it that way. As far as God is concerned.
Darkness covers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Could be your dark thoughts. Yeah, I want to say your peace of mind. Could be dark. Yeah, that's not easy. To me, I think when I think of dark, I think of heavy.
Yeah. Anyone else?
When I think of the sun and being God, and the farther we are away from it, the more we're going to experience darkness.
Right.
Or if we let something come between us and the sun, it's going to block
Right.
that light.
That's true too. God is light. In Him is no darkness at all. There is no sin. Which to me that would mean that darkness is sin. It's completely separate from God, that He is light. There is nothing dark about Him, nothing that we could consider darkness or sin or anything. And where God is, there is no darkness. And where God isn't, there is no light. So if God is not in a home, or not in a nation, or not in a situation, there's no light there. There's no spiritual light. It's spiritual darkness as opposed to God. I think that just reminds us that this world is in darkness. And we have to remember sometimes that because they are in darkness, they don't understand. They don't know what's right and wrong. And that's up to us to kind of explain that to them. Yes, sir.
So there was no darkness until man sinned.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. It probably started with the angels, because they rebelled at some point before man sinned, because Satan tempted man to sin. Of course, I think I really believe that took place before God created the world, or it was kind of outside of time that the angels rebelled. I don't know for sure. That's just what I think. Of course, I also have heard that Adam and Eve probably sinned the very first day. It doesn't really say how long they were in the garden before before they were tempted to sin, other than, well, no, that might have been afterwards too, where Adam named everything. It still could have been after that, but anyway. Right. Yep. That's something for us. Second, light is invisible. It's invisible. You don't see light. You only see the effects of light. So what does that tell you about God? We don't see him either. We just see the effects of God. Except when God came to earth as Jesus, right? And Jesus came to earth. Yeah. I don't know whether you've ever been to, maybe not, most of you in here, because of your age, or our age, have been to a concert that had a bunch of lasers and stuff going on. They have to fill the auditorium with smoke so that you can see the lasers, right? Because otherwise all you're going to see are the little dots on the wall or wherever it hits. And they have to fill it with the fake smoke in order to actually see the lines of the laser. That's because you can't see light. It is invisible, but you can see the effects of it. John 3:19 says, "This is the verdict, that light has come into the world, but men love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil." And I guess that probably should have gone back with the other one, that people love darkness. And this is not just for the lost people. In 1 John it says, "If we claim to have fellowship with him, yet walk in darkness, we lie and do not live by the truth. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin." I believe there's a lot of people that are in churches today that are walking around in darkness and claiming to live by light. I think. I don't know how it could be. They'll come up here in a second. No, that wasn't it. Sounded like somebody's alarm that your sugar was low, but mine wasn't low. I didn't figure it could be mine, but I could hear the dong, dong, dong. Yeah.
Somebody in here?
Well, I could hear it, so it'd have to be somebody here, but it's not mine. Mine's up. So, if any of you have a monitor and want to check that, yeah. I heard about. I'm gonna tell you a story about this family in Scotland, and they lived kind of out of way a little bit from town, but they started getting electricity. This was years ago. Started getting electricity into their area, and the way it was coming in, this couple that lived right on the edge of town were the first ones to get electricity. And so they got electricity and they got a light, and they invited everybody over that first night. And they flipped on the light, and everyone was like, "Wow, look, I got this light. This is great." And he said, "Yeah, and it makes it really easy to light the lantern." So he lit his lantern and turned the lights off. We do things like that, though, don't we? I forgot where I was going with that, but anyway, we tend to. I guess the whole point of it is we tend to hang on to the darkness in our lives a lot. The third one is you can't see anything without light. I mean, the way our eyes work is that light from some source hits an object. And the object, like this blue chair, will absorb all of the colors of light except for the blue, the stuff that make up the dark blue, and that light gets reflected back to our eyes, so we get to see a dark blue color. It absorbs everything else. If we had no light at all, we wouldn't see anything. Have any of you ever been in a cave and they turn off the lights completely? I've had a lot of people, well, if they just give me more time, I'd be able to see. No, you can't. The only way your eyes work, the only way your eyes work is to have some kind of light bouncing back to them. So what does that tell us about God? Spiritually. He is. He is vital. He's the source. We can't see anything spiritually. We can't understand anything without God. That's why a lot of people that come and they say, you know, I've read the Bible, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's because, you know, it's a spiritual book. You have to read it and understand it through the Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, through God. You can't just, you know, it's not anything as a human can really understand. We can't understand spiritual things without the Holy Spirit teaching us. And you can't see without the light. Light exposes things, especially everything that we thought was hidden in the darkness. Light exposes it. What happens if you have a child and they're scared because of a monster under the bed, or what do you do? You turn the light on and say, look, there's nothing under there, because light exposes what we think is hidden. What does that teach us about God? He does. Exposes our sin. Anything, especially things that we maybe not think but hope are hidden. Maybe that's the way I should say it. We hope that but it says, the Bible says that all these things are going to be brought to light. In Ephesians 5, it says, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret. But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, for it is light that makes everything visible. Have any of you ever gone out someplace in the woods or whatever and picked up a rock or picked up something, and it has all these little bugs and they just start scattering because they are scared of the light? You know, they're used to living under a rock, and all of a sudden it's a bright light and they'll just scatter everywhere. If you put the rock back down, if you do it quick enough, you put the rock back down, a lot of them that start to scatter will come back and go under the light. Same thing with people. We, you know, because we are sinful, a lot of times we would rather hide in the darkness than to be exposed. And God will expose all of the sin and everything in our lives, but we try to hide ourselves. Yeah. Anything else on that? Okay. Not only does it expose it, light dispels darkness. Is there? Well, I don't know. Is there supposed to be?
I don't know. It just occurred to me. I didn't even see what was up there. I just wrote it and I didn't put that in.
I don't remember having a spell, underlined. Well, it has two S's, but not right beside each other. I started to be smart aleck and say that a while ago, but yeah. I don't know. And it doesn't take much light. Like we talked about being in a cave and it's completely dark. If you have any little bit of light at all, you'll be able to see eventually, right? I had a friend at seminary. He was in the military. I talked to him a lot about different things. He was a lieutenant, and he was part of got hung up in the paratrooper group, and he said that was fun, jumping out of a plane. And I know this is chasing a rabbit. We got time. I asked him, how can you do that? And he said, well, number one, because I was the lieutenant, we got on the plane. I had to go and check, make sure everybody was, buckled in right, had their things on there. And then the only seat was right by the open door. So I was by the open door the whole time in the flight. And then he said, you stand up, you clip in, and you stand there, and you're ready. And all of a sudden, the guy, whoever it is, they say jump or go or whatever. And he said, before you know it, you've been trained so much that he said, you're out the door before you even realize that you're out the door. But he told me in one maneuver, they were out in the middle of nowhere, and it was a cloudy day, and there was no light anywhere. They couldn't see anything. And the sergeant, whoever was in charge of the group, because this was when he was in basic stuff, he had them all, I guess from his voice, told them to, face this particular way. And all of a sudden, they could see this little bitty light, a little orangish color light. And he finally told them that was another sergeant, and he was over a mile away, and he lit a match. And warned them that, enemy snipers that far away can still see you. If you light a match, you light a cigarette, you do anything like that to give any kind of light, you have to be careful. But light dispels darkness. Even a little bit of light will...
Good example of that is, if you ever been to Carlsbad Cavern or one of those, they sit you down. When I went, of course, we didn't have the little flashlights.
Yeah.
But they gave us a match, and we sat down, and they turned out all the lights, and then you couldn't see anything.
Right.
And then they began to strike these little matches, and it wasn't long until there was light nearly all over the cavern.
Yeah, that's neat. I've never experienced that, but that's that. So what does that tell us also about God? What's more powerful? Light, right? God is more powerful than darkness. Light is more powerful than darkness. And we shouldn't fear evil. We shouldn't fear the darkness because God defeated the darkness. It goes back to our text. The Lord is my light, it's my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Don't have to fear anything. Number 6 is that light guides and provides direction. In John 8, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of light. The light of life. I said that backwards. Light guides us, right? Again, thinking about in places like that, or if you go into a cave or things, a lot of times they'd have a torch, and the guy in front would lead, and everyone else would follow him. Or at night, you'd have a guy with the torch leading. The children of Israel, they followed a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire at night. That's like the torch, and allowed them to follow. And everything that we do, we can follow God because He is our light. Heard about a little boy that asked one time, they asked him, which was more important, the sun or the moon? And he said, well, the moon, because it shows you helps you to see at night. Of course, didn't realize at that point that the sun was what caused the moon to shine. But, we need to be like the moon. We need to reflect God's light so that people around us can see. Which brings me to number 7, and that is that we are the light of the world. Jesus said, I am the light of the world, right? And then also he said in Matthew 5, you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it in a stand, and it gives light to everybody or everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, so they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. We don't make our own light. We should reflect the light of God, just like the moon. But it says people don't light a lamp and put it under a bowl. How many times do we do that spiritually? I mean, we have the Lord living in us. We have that light, but we kind of hide it. We hide it under a bowl, hide it, somewhere. I don't know whether I put this on there. I know it's up here. There's a quote that says, I don't have to fear the darkness, but the darkness should fear me. Have you ever thought about that? I don't have to fear the darkness, but the darkness should fear me because his light is shining in me, and where I am, he is, and no darkness can dwell there. I don't know where I got that, but I really liked it. I did not put that on your thing, did I? I should have typed it up, put it in there. I don't have to fear the darkness, but the darkness should fear me because his light is shining in me, and where I am, he is, and no darkness can dwell there because he is the God of light. He is Jehovah Ore, the God light. God of light, God light. Yes, the Lord is light. That's why I have it here. So, questions, comments, anything else? Make sure you leave that a few more minutes. They're not looking back up here.
I remember as a kid, we used to sing a song, it's the light of
Yes.
I'm
In fact, I think, I'm not sure if it was this or there was another time I've talked about, but when I did the sermon, that's how we ended. I ended singing that, this little light of mine, and had everybody join me in singing that. So we could do that for our,
Gets in the back of their mind. You start walking down the street singing it.
Yep.
It's one of those that stays with you.
By the way, if anybody wants this, you can have that, and it has that quote on there. It's in my computer. All right, well, let's stand and join hands, and we will sing something.